that when people grow up, they kind of move to the right. Churchill, I don't know what the exact quote is because I've heard different versions of it, but it's something like if you're
If you're young and conservative, you don't have a heart. If you're old and liberal, you don't have a brain. Something like that.
thank you. Yeah, I should
And
write
it's
this
also
one
that
down.
quote that it's like, if you don't have who said it, just say it. Churchill said it.
That's true. But anyway, the Young Turks are not so young anymore. And I guess as part of their growing up, they have moved to the right in some ways, or at least are opening up to the conservative movement, or not exactly the conservative movement, but the MAGA movement. Anyway, yeah, I'm not buying that, by the way, for a second. But yeah, Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur, who will probably get his own episode on this at some point, have both been speaking to some right-wing hosts on YouTube and elsewhere, and have expressed views that range from criticism of the Democratic Party and their nominee, their presidential nominee, which is something we see from the left. And when you lose an election, having anointed your nominee rather than elected them, it's to be expected. Um, but in their case, it is kind of mixed with some sort of acceptance of Trump and the MAGA movement, which is a weird thing here. Um, yeah, I guess what is the most famous clip of this new change in the Young Turks, uh, specifically with Anna Kasparian, Cenk Uygur says something about Kamala Harris potentially running for governor of California, and Anna Kasparian having spent half her life on screen with Cenk, went full Cenk, started shouting, "What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm gonna quit my
Oh,
job."
I have that one. Yeah.
Oh, you do have that one. Oh, come on. Then we're getting my person. Okay. Anyway, we'll hear it later. Anyway, that was the her famous moment, and yeah, that's her. She was supposedly upset, or what it seemed like she was upset by, is um the fact that Cenk was suggesting it, because I guess the Young Turks, at the very least, whether they're far left or MAGA Republicans or independents, wherever they are, they buy their own bullshit. That is the constant in the brand. So yeah, I do have to say before welcome to the reality show, everyone. Before I go to the panel, I have to uh, Christian, who is a supporter of the channel. I'm a fan of you generally. I have to say your comment here offends me. Christian says Anna Kasparian is a very attractive woman, but she often sounds very annoying. No, she always sounds very annoying, and very attractive woman. Okay, you know what? Let's leave this aside, but no. Uh let's leave it at that. Anyway, Marco, your thoughts on Anna Kasparian. Again, I think somebody who you probably are familiar with only through your role on this channel and would not have probably uh, consumed much of her content otherwise.
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations on the rendition of Anna Kaspera. For a moment, I thought I was on a Young Turks. Um, yeah, well, I mean, come on. Do we believe these people? Of course not. They see, first of all, they can sniff the political turn. They know that the Democrats probably will be, out of the scene for a while, so they're not going to be able to provide any political cover for them. Um, and what did they do? Well, next bandwagon passing by, we just jump on it. And that happens to be MAGA on this occasion. But of course, the real reason why they do this is because what they like about the MAGA is not the faint pro-capitalist stance, is not the faint pro-America sense of life, is actually the fact that the MAGA people, for some weird reason, keep pushing this line, oh, American tax dollars shouldn't go towards Ukraine and Israel. And being the Young Turks, Biana, Kasparian, and Cenk, they sniff the situation and say, oh, I like to have some of that. I like somebody who don't want to give money to Israel and let the other side win. So that's an obvious open goal, and they go for it. I mean, there's nothing to do with ideology. I mean, this woman works for she's got an Armenian background and she works for a company called the Young Turks. I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, what can I add to it? I mean, first of all, I mean, she's clearly on, excuse me, as I get a frog in my throat, a political journey away from a particular end of the lunatic spectrum. Where's she going? Is she going to another end of a lunatic spectrum? Is she picking bits of lunacy from here and there? Is she stitching it all together in a big mess? I mean, the extent to which your thinking is valid depends on how much you've thought about it, what your reasons are, and how it integrates with the rest of your thinking. And if this is just snatching bits from here and there, she might happen to be right on some issues now where she was previously wrong. But that doesn't mean she's heading in the right direction. And it doesn't mean she's necessarily can predict where she's heading next at this point. That's all. I mean, that's all in there. And one of the ways of analyzing anyone is comparative. So compared with some of the stances she held earlier, she's improved. But compared with other people who've really thought about stuff, or compared with what we're arguing in the main across this channel, across the sum of all of us, we're in a very different place to much of the arguments that she makes, including those on Gaza and Israel particularly. So how can you assess her at this point? Because it'd be hard for her to assess herself properly. You can only encourage people, or the equivalents of people, or people who follow her, to really consider why it is they think about each particular issue in the way they do, and to compare, well, where are the issues that relate to one another? So, for example, I mean, I'm sure we're going to get onto this, but when it comes to like crime in California being one of those key ones, when you've been, you've seen your state go down the toilet and it's covered in junkies and crime, at some point you're going to recognize that that having a loose attitude to crime and punishment of criminals is going to lead to the kind of mess that then causes you personal problems, and that is reality biting you in the arse, as it will eventually. But if you stop at that and then you don't look at other areas where you're not facing reality, even if it hasn't yet bitten you personally in the arse, then you're not going to be able to learn from the first experience sufficiently to expand your thinking across the whole sphere of your life.
Yeah, I just want to say if people saw me and Daniel both trying not to laugh while Richard was saying nothing funny and wondering what's going on, it's because one of the trolls in the chat was saying, by all respect to Daniel and only Daniel, and this is somebody who has posted a few times about his respect to Daniel. Daniel, I don't know, but like you have a weird fan base. But yeah, anything you want to say about Anna or to your weird fan base?
Well, he said he respects me a lot many times. I still have no idea why, especially since I only get the respect. But Jesus. Talking about Anna, she's another person. She's crossing the Dave Rubicon. She's becoming this, I left the lead. I've been disillusioned. And it always goes the same way. It always goes into this crazy conspiracism. And I don't think this is even something unique about Trump. I think it's something unique about populism and anti-intellectualism. I think we've seen similar thing during the Gamergate, during the early 2014, which then led to Trump with the rise of the alt-right, the rise of the far right in Europe. It was the same thing. People just looked at what's sort of like what's the status quo right now. They didn't like it and they went for some sort of populism. And this is exactly what's happening right now with Anna. It's disgusting. I mean, if I have any respect for like anyone, at least having some sort of because you have to realize with Anna, she didn't fundamentally change her like views. She's not suddenly like like laissez-faire libertarian or capitalist. She's not suddenly yeah, changing her mind on these things, and sort of now like grasping on Trump. Oh, I know what I something I wanted to mention earlier. I think Marco said it about how they can no longer defend Democrats. They were never defending Democrats. They freaking hate Democrats. They cannot stand. This is crazy because, and I think this sort of works with populism and this hatred of like establishment. Like you just hate whoever is in the establishment, and so then you grasp upon anyone who sort of seems like anti-establishment, like Trump. So that's why they jump upon him. They are actually like Cheng said it. He's actually happy that Trump won against Kamala. And I think you can easily make that case as like an objectivist, as capitalist, that a case for why Trump is a better choice than Kamala Harris. But as like a progressive, you view Trump better than like Kamala Harris. Again, that sort of shows this really scary part of like populism and intellectualism, that you give up on like any sort of values of any standard, and you just grasp upon this thing because it's anti something. And we'll go through some of the things where you could see this like really hatred for like specific thing, and like truly like grasping upon anything she can get, and sort of the idea of crossing the Dave Rubicon, which I have to look who came up with this line because it's amazing. But we've seen this exact same. We've seen that with Dave Rubin, Tim Pool, Joe Rogan. They are like, oh no, 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 we are progressive. We are still leftists. We still have leftist values. We just the left has left us or something like that. No, you are a conspiracy nut, and you've always been that. And Trump is now your guy. I think something I love because we don't something that Raka has actually been saying in 2016, like Trump is your guy. You will become like fans of Trump, and this is one of the greatest statements that Raka ever made. Oh, and just one quick thing, like these people should know better. All of them know about objectivism. All of them know there is a better alternative. Dave Rubin had ARI people on. Tim Pool had as I mentioned, Raka and Mark Pellegrino on. Joe Rogan knows about Yaron Brook. They know there is an alternative, yet they evade. They choose to, no, I don't really want to fundamentally change my worldview. So I'll just adapt. I'll just change slightly politically. I'll just cross. I want to mention again. I'll just cross the sort of political lines and adopt a little bit with the other side, but nothing fundamentally changes with these people, and that's what this is not a good thing. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Thank you, Roland, for the super chat. Roland says the far left isn't all that far from MAGA. And yeah, that's the thing here. I mean, Cenk, we might be exhausting the Cenk topic on the Anna Kasparian episode, but he went to Turning Point and gave a talk there. And he said, something to the effect of, we're the same, we're both anti-establishment. Well, you're not anti-establishment. So the MAGA people are not anti-establishment because they want limited government. Yeah, that might actually be something that some people in the Trump administration managed to do to limit government, but that's not what Trump wants. He wants unlimited power for himself. That's not, and the fact that he might be, may have been a better candidate than Kamala just shows you how bad the state of the world is and the state of the Democratic Party is. It's not. This is a warning sign to any decent people who have bought into more than Trump is the lesser of two evils and actually think, okay, this is our guy and this is something great. The left and the left to the left of Kamala Harris is looking at you as allies. Shouldn't that be some sort of a wake-up call? And the answer is it's probably not because I don't think they care. There was a comment here that I wanted to read from Ziv. It said, Ziv says, I think people like Anna are still worth having a conversation with, but I can't say the same about Cenk. since he keeps interrupting, shouting, and laughing at people he doesn't agree with. Yeah, I mean, Cenk is unbearable. I think Anna has some of those elements to her, probably in part because she has grown up on the show with him. So but yeah, being more reasonable than Cenk is still a too low a bar. I think there's a distance from more reasonable to Cenk than Cenk to worthy of having a conversation with. Marco.
Yeah, sort of just quickly about the like being able to talk to Anna or something like that. Well, fundamentally, it's an individual choice. They have volition. They have the option to not debate and to find out more about maybe there is something fundamentally wrong with my worldview until now. Yet, well, one, it's a big step, especially when you already have a career in something like that. But that doesn't excuse you. And so, like us being able to convince them at some point. I mean, how did we become objectives? It wasn't like someone was bashing in our head and eventually we got convinced. It was we were looking for something. We were looking for something different and we're open to something better. And so this is all on Anna if she wants. So that's why I'm so harsh. It's now she has a choice and she's choosing something worse.
Yeah, and I have to quickly say, Davy Boy says in the chat, I've been observing lunatic fringe individuals and movements for decades. While I don't like Cenk or Anna, there are worse ones out there. And Ziva also says, true, but keep in mind that even Cenk isn't as bad as his nephew, Hassan Piker, which says a lot. Um, yeah, it says a lot, but the fact that there are worse people doesn't mean that you have to, again, you should have a high bar of who is worthy of intellectual discourse. It's a different thing, I think, clearly, as we're doing these shows. It's a different thing to point out what these people are saying if they are as influential as they are. But yeah, the idea of trying to have a conversation with Cenk, we see Cenk in conversation with people. It's not a conversation. It's him shouting like a maniac at the point where anybody disagrees with him. If you agree with him, he's maybe uh, kind of more calm. But yeah, once you express any disagreement, it is a shouting match, and he will win. Marco.
Well, yeah, just because he goes back to using emotionalism and his exuberant bullying techniques in order to win an argument because he hasn't got the intellectual armor behind him in order to support the argument itself. And the fact you can talk with Kasparian, well, again, probably you could have had a conversation with Hitler without him shouting in your face. But still, is that the kind of conversation you want to hold in the first place? I mean, what are you going to get out of it? And to be honest, I mean, here we're kind of psychologizing a bit and perhaps guessing what their motivation is behind. But to be honest, I mean, it's just political maneuvering. It's just these people are not really doing anything concrete. They're not really proposing any new idea or supporting any specific idea. They just grasp in the dark, trying to make an argument, trying to fill a few hours of production of programs. So they're not following a a philosophical idea. They're not arguing against or for capitalism. They sort of feel something like that they like. Kind of sounds logical in the head, but they're not going to be bothered to see why it sounds logical, why it doesn't sound logical. They're not going to go down this route, and that's part of the problem. It's a bit like when Daniel was talking about the populism in the MAGA side and Europe. Well, I would be careful about that because the kind of populism we have in Europe is not quite the same as the populism we've seen in the United States. In the United States, it was an issue of, first of all, the United States as such still have some remains of the good old sense of life that came from the founders that was instilled and put in the Constitution itself. So people feel some kind of disconnect between that kind of lifestyle where freedom is fundamental and the kind of World Economic Forum, UN imposed big, wide world government that is being literally pushed by the politicians. And politicians, both in Europe and the United States, do not have any sense of why they're there for, apart from being in power. Just look at the reaction of Kamala Harris. I mean, after you lost so miserably against Trump, you really should disappear from the scene instead of even suggesting you might come back as a governor in California. I mean, that's not even a fight. That's where cowards goes to hide because he's so power hungry. He wants something to, give herself prestige for. So even the conception is just show how vacuous and empty these politicians are. And I think the kind of populism we saw in the United States is some people trying to recapture that kind of freedom, the sense of, the independence, the spirit of the West, all this kind of stuff the United States still has, and we don't have in Europe. In Europe, it's all about how do I have a state that gives me money rather than to the other guy. So it's all a bit more of a socialist gang warfare going on here. That's why I do not like to equate the two things. And as for these people, well, they're just trying to reposition them politically. Earlier on, I said that about the protection of the Democratic Party. Well, not in the sense that the Young Turks were protecting the Democratic Party, but they were using the Democratic Party as a firewall behind which they hide. And when the Democratic Party is in power, it's useful to them. Now they're going to be out in the cold for a while, so they jump on the other bandwagon. That's what I meant. But either way, it's just convenience. It's pure convenience.
Let me just quickly tell Bonnie. Bonnie asks, are there clips of her for those who don't watch her stuff and don't know her? Yes, Richard, and then Daniel, and then some clips of Anna.
Okay, I'll keep it brief then, so we can get to those clips. I mean, Anna's spoken about Dave Rubin in the past and about his move from the left to the right, and been heavily critical of him for that, particularly as a grifter. And she's pointed out, well, it's the easiest hustle in the world for an ex-lefty to take money from the right. Now, the extent to which that's true is debatable or whatever, but I think it's telling that she said that then. I'm not sure that means she's necessarily doing the same now, but it is a criticism that she's made in the past. I think the thing is, often it's the same when we talk about people like Finkelstein, or in yesterday's episode, Zachary Foster. When you've got somebody who's left a particular tribe or is now critical of a tribe they were part of, that to the new tribe, that's seen as something positive, and they'll be lauded as a hero for it. And it's neither means, the tribal thing is the wrong way to look at it in the first place, regardless of which tribe you're sticking yourself in and taking everything that tribe represents as representative of you without doing any of your own thinking. So there's that point. Then there's Cenk on Trump versus Kamala. Well, I mean, he doesn't say that Trump was a better choice than Kamala until after the election. So he's oh so brave, isn't he? I mean, wow. Stick your neck out. Why don't you? I think Anna Kasparian comes across as better than Cenk in many ways. And I think she does have an ability to be a bit more understanding. She is at least asking some questions. She's trying to evaluate, trying to consider. So I think we should be aware that when anybody makes a journey from where they were to where they're going, they shouldn't be slapped down by everybody in sight. It should be encouraged to ask those questions, and encouraged to get to some of the truth and the right answers that relate to actual reality. And this is why Daniel's point about us finding objectivism is true, and it's true because we find the verifiable truth that objectivism represents. It's not that we're truffling around for anything new we haven't come across before, and that'll do, and that's not very popular, that's anti-establishment, we'll take that one. It's because you go to objectivism with the same attitude of questioning and skepticism as you approach anything, and then you try and verify the truth behind it. And only because you cannot disprove it, as soon as you're analyzing it and integrating it, then obviously it makes sense to pursue it further. And then I was just going to make a quick point about when you were talking about. Well, I'll leave that point. I'll save it for later. Let's
Wait,
get
now we're going to wonder what it was, and we're not going to be able to focus on what Daniel has to say.
Well, all right. I was just talking about the principles you were talking about earlier. In terms of so, for example, if rape and murder are worse crimes than shoplifting, but that doesn't mean shoplifting itself isn't a crime, and it doesn't mean it shouldn't be considered as a crime, and it doesn't mean it doesn't have essential principles behind it which are criminal and are against the values which we should all hold. So I was just going to add to that.
Yeah, yeah, and on that point, Akira said in the chat, Hassan Piker is the most popular political commentator in the world, Razi. Keep that in mind. Yeah, that's where the standards are, and yeah, there's at least a lot of content for shows, unfortunately, this type of content. Daniel.
Just quickly on Hassan being the most popular political commentator, that might actually not be true anymore. I don't know about specific numbers, but there is one big live streamer that is basically MAGA now. So you don't really have a good choice. You either have a guy who like invites terrorists on his podcast, or someone fully bought into MAGA. So not the best. But there is one alternative when it comes to YouTube streamers. But I won't mention it right now. Yeah, I think maybe we should just go to the videos. I wanted to say something about tribalism, but there is one video or one yeah, there is I can get my point across better if we just watch something. Any preference? We have 3 videos. Which one are you gonna do?
Last time I said surprise me, you did surprise me. So let's yeah,
Well, we
let it
have
ride.
Anna Constitution, Anna Libertarian, or Anna Quit. So, all right, let's do Anna Quit.
I think Kamala Harris will probably win in a cakewalk for governor.
No!
Okay.
No! What are you doing? What are you doing?
No, I'm telling you the reality, whether you like it or not. Are you
What are you doing?
Democratic voters in California love to obey. And so
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm gonna move, Cenk. I'm gonna quit my job.
I got you.
I'm
I'm
gonna
just
quit
telling you
my
the
job
reality.
and I'm gonna move.
I'm not saying I'm in favor of it. I'm telling you what's like if the Democratic Party said we anoint Kamala Harris, a giant percentage of Democrats in California would go, yes, we obey.
Yeah, I have to say Cenk does it better. I mean, I'm not convinced by her, angry act. And, she has her own niche. I don't know why she needs to take Cenk's, but anyway. Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like I was listening to just some like MAGA show. Like, I'm really strong. I'm wondering what you guys think. Like, if you are someone who has like progressive values, who is like an actual progressive, why would you? How is Trump ever better than if you I'm assuming Anna hasn't changed her values. She probably still believes in socialized medicine, like Medicare for all, ideally, but at least expansion of Obamacare. Well, Trump is absolutely opposed. He almost like got rid of that thing. She is probably still for like every single thing that she is 100% for, or at least been for the unrealized gains tax, the capital gains tax that Kamala Harris was pushing forward. So like I don't get it. Why is she against like Kamala?
You're making it sound like Trump is some sort of free market, some sort of Milei on steroids. He's a lifelong Democrat. He fits in with that. And remember, where he moved the Republican Party on economics is very clearly to the left.
Yeah, but still, it's not like Trump is gonna implement Medicare for all of suddenly. I mean, even I'd be
Yeah,
surprised.
but there are enough bad policies that Trump has that the left can easily get behind, and not surprisingly, one of them is immigration. In the case of Anna, she seems to be okay with him on that.
Yeah,
Arthur.
I mean, we'll go to one more clip where they talk about specifically the Pentagon. Like Trump is gonna he's gonna take money from Pentagon. There's gonna be audit or something. So they're big on that. So that's another one thing They
Oh yeah,
sort
the
of.
one thing they like about cutting the one thing that the left is always in favor of cutting in terms of government spending is defense, and of course the police. They're happy to cut
And
that.
foreign aid to Israel.
Yeah, Marco.
Well, that's exactly the point. They see a policy that they like, i.e., not supporting Israel, so they go for it. They don't care who pushes for it, and if the people who push it happen to be in power, even more the better for them, isn't it? It's uh,
Well,
crazy.
Trump doesn't push like anti-Israel policy just so people are not.
No, but the whole MAGA movement, the Republicans really are pushing for defunding or for stop spending. Suddenly, they give a crap about the taxpayer money when it comes to this kind of issues. Whether they don't complain about canceling debts and all this kind of stuff, or at least it doesn't seem to be such an issue. But yeah, I mean, the problem is that nowadays statism is the status quo, isn't it? It's what people accept implicitly. They all believe that there is the right to education. They all believe that the right of everybody to have a good life should be guaranteed by the state. And the problem, nobody actually makes the point that the state is the problem in the first place. The state should only be there to protect your ability to choose which action to take to make your life better, which is called freedom. But nobody pushes for that. If you want to spend taxpayer money, well, start pushing back on all the stupid regulation and the crap that's been taking over the HR departments across the world. That's the kind of stuff you have to push back. But nobody will ever say that, are they? Problem because they take this statism as the given. Can you do?
I'm inclined to take Anna Kasparian at her word in this clip that we just saw, in the sense that, all right, she may be exaggerating for performance, purposes, but nevertheless, I think she's appalled at the idea that Kamala Harris is anything other than on the trash heap of politics at this point, and she's disgusted at the idea that she could be governor of the state. And whether Cenk is right that Democrats would vote for anything with the Democrat rosette on them as a matter of duty because it's their tribe, there's probably a good deal of truth in that aspect. But what she's reacting to is the idea that this person who made a career out of identity politics and all that, and that's been shown as such an utter failure, and you'd be getting her back in the state to pursue that even further when her and the policies she represented should all be jettisoned as utter vote losers because they have no prospect of ever winning because they're so detached from reality. So I mean that's only fair, surely. So yeah.
The people talking about whether she's a sweetheart. We mostly use that word because we know it's now supposedly somehow offensive to women on the left. At least it's if a
Well,
man
it
calls a
is
woman-
calling random woman sweetheart. That is.
Well, it's not a random woman. It's Anna Kasparian, who's been a
But you
part of our
don't.
lives for 18 years. I had another point which I completely forgot because I was thinking about this sweetheart Anna Kasparian. And anyway, so Daniel, do you want to play the next clip?
Yeah, just quickly, because I mentioned the third live streamer and people were talking about it in chat. Yeah, I was talking about Destiny. He is pretty great when it comes to politics streamer. He's doing like live streams, like reading Federalist Papers. I mean, who do you have like doing that? And he has I think, fundamental respect and acknowledgement of what America is. So that's why I like him. But
somebody in the chat who I never agree with on anything says, "You know who is hot? Noah Tishby." We can agree on that. Absolutely. From that, we can let's go to the next clip. Unless you had something else to add.
no, let's watch this one because I have a point to make.
People are waking up.
I don't trust government, Cenk. Whether it's a Democrat in charge or a Republican in charge, I don't trust government. So in that analysis that we did and talked about, one of the tax breaks that came with Trump's tax cuts for the rich, if he extends it, it would lead to $700 billion in lost revenue for the federal government. So what? So what? What does the federal government do with our money? $700 billion for what? For more aid to other countries in the form of weaponry. Is that what it is?
Yep.
Which is basically just redistributing our money from taxpayers to weapons contractors and defense contractors.
Yeah, so
it bothers me. I can't sit here and talk about like, oh, the federal government needs more revenue when I've seen what they do with our revenue, Jane.
And this is what happens when you start using.
Yeah. Can I first?
I just want to, when she says aid to other countries, who is she referring to? Can she name names, or do we have to guess?
I mean, it really is like, is she like suddenly libertarian now? She's like, like fiscally responsible all of a sudden. Like, what even is this like talking point? Like, even again, this is like a lefty. This is like a progressive. This is someone who, you know, she talked about like, oh, where does the money go? And I looked it up because I was interested. Well, the federal spending for 2024 was 6.8 trillion. 3.8 trillion went to mandatory spending, which is like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. So she doesn't care. She wants to cut them. I mean, I want to cut them. I want to, well, not cut them, phase out, because I don't want, you know, people just suddenly to stop getting money who are already on retirement. But I want to phase. Is that what she's saying? Does she want to get rid of this institution? Does she wants to get rid of? Does she wants to privatize healthcare? Does she wants to privatize retirement? Is that what she's saying? How much money does go to defense spending? It's 800 billion, which is about 13%. She didn't talk about this one. She talked specifically about foreign aid, which is like 1 or 2% of like foreign spending, and even that's split between mainly Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. So I can guess what maybe she was like referring to. But again, what is like this? What does this even mean?
I mean, first of all, of course she's referring to Israel, but that's the thing. They had no problem naming Israel before the election. They were. It's not like they were the Iranian regime who won't name Israel and will call it the Zionist entity. They couldn't stop talking about Israel, but now you know they say foreign aid because kind of that's kind of something that when you say this to your stereotypical MAGA person, they'll be like, "Oh, why are we giving money to foreigners? You know, America first." So yeah, it's come on. Yeah, as Akira said it perfectly. No, Daniel, she's full of shit. Yeah, that's true. Thank you, Jonathan, for the very nice super chat. Jonathan says, "Happy birthday, Razi." Yeah, it was yesterday, but it still counts absolutely in super chat form. It counts, you know, year round. Marco.
Well, that's fresh. Yes, so we sang happy birthday to you. You were all grumpy about it, honestly. Two standards, eh? Well, the thing that really annoys me is when people talk about the federal government or a state. Oh, look, if we don't pay this, it's going to be loss of revenue for the state. Revenue, that's a loot. That's money that the state doesn't make money, doesn't have revenue. It just steals it from me, you, and whoever pays tax. So that kind of betrays the little understanding that these people have about what a state is really and what it's for. And then I would love to hear these people's stance. Okay, you claim you changed. Let's hear your stance about Israel and Gaza. Let's hear what you think about genocide, because they've been banned in this words for the last 14 months, and at no point they made, even accidentally, they made the right point. They always come out on the side of the Palestinian, the poor Palestinian people who get killed by the billions. I mean, come on. Let's see what you think, and let's see if you really change your mind, if you've really seen the other side of the argument. But no, this kind of argument that they don't is, occur in the mind. So it's all politics, really.
I think if you look at her attitude to crime and how that changed because of her personal experience, having the horrible experience of a sexual assault whilst walking a dog in 2022, and it was the reaction from the lefties who said she should never have spoken publicly about that because she was, and the assumptions they made about the color of who the homeless person was and various things like that were all leapt in together. And of course, that's a way of shutting down the fact that crime is so prevalent in California. And she was saying, no, we have to face up to the fact that it is prevalent, and it's prevalent because of the Democrat policies within the state. So she was coming out against those because of personal experience. Now, do we have to wait for her to be attacked by Russia or North Korea or China or whatever to recognize the importance of defense for America? Because that's the attitude that this particular latest clip would suggest, wouldn't it? It would suggest that you don't want to spend any money at all on defense contractors because you don't want it taken from taxpayers. But there will be a time when you recognize that the US does need to defend itself, and it won't be attacked if it has a strong defense. That is, obviously the case. So I think, again, it's a question of integrating your thinking. And if you come across, somewhere where she's right, such as in crime, for example, recognizing that you do need to fund the police, you also need to work out that the borders of a country, that's the other kind of crime, that affects your entire country from abroad. The fact that you could be attacked by a foreign adversary, and you need protection against that, as well as your in-house criminals, your homegrown criminals.
Yeah, I heard her talk about the sexual assault, and yeah, she was attacked by the left for mentioning it, saying that it's a homeless person. The left attacked, some people on the left attacked her and said that it was racist. And the interview that I heard, she said, well, I never mentioned the race, and actually it was white homeless people. But which kind of tells you how the left thinks. You said homeless person, why are you racist against black people? That's their immediate reaction. Yes, yes, this is leftist. If that's how you think, you have internalized racism, as they say.
Sure. And she had a similar, sorry, just to butt in, but she had a similar reaction to when she stood up for using the word woman in relation to being a woman, and instead of being told by the left to use all of these euphemisms which refer to bodily functions, so that you don't say the word woman, which is supposedly shows some sort of support for transgenderism, and she was coming out against that. And the flat from that was another case of how she was criticized relentlessly by it, and recognized the nastiness of the left and how they're incorrect on such a key issue.
Yeah. Thank you, El Rito, for the super chat. Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, Razi, they love to blame Israel, and happy belated birthday. Thank you. Yes, they do, which is why it raises a question. How is it just a coincidence that she forgot the name of the country that she's upset about foreign aid to, at the same time that she's becoming kind of sort of, full on MAGA? Daniel, anything else or any other clips?
Well, we have something else. Let me remind people that today's episode of the reality show is sponsored by Jim Brown's new book, Black Hole in Economics, Money Creation and Its Consequences. Let me read you a little bit from chapter 1. In the field of money creation, ignorance is not bliss. If you know how banks create new money, you could begin to understand how the money supply grows, its source, who benefits, and who is harmed. But if, like most experts, you believe commercial banks as mere financial intermediaries transferring money from a saver to a borrower, you won't understand their unique economic importance, nor will you know how their legal privilege to create money can work for good or ill, depending on who makes the money creation decisions. So I'm activating my TDS now. Now with Trump coming into office and wanting to get rid of the debt ceiling, as well as replacing the Fed or getting Fed under control, I think now is the time to really understand how money works, how specifically inflation works, how money gets created, and how to protect yourself against that, because we are not looking into and also we haven't seen that happy last few years. So also understanding what has happened in the last few years and what happened specifically to your money, to your productivity, to your production, to your stored wealth is important for planning for the future, because that's what we are. We are people we are creatures that plan for the future. And if your money, if 1 hour of your work is not going to be worth the same the next day, you really have to think hard about how to protect yourself against that. So Amazon link to the book is in the chat, and also all proceeds go towards the support of Ayn Rand Centre UK. So you can educate for yourself in a very important issue, and also help us stay on the air.
Before you play the next clip, let me just, Christian says in the chat, what is a woman? Difficult question today in postmodernist times. Yeah, and the more I think about how it was handled, and I know we did a review of that What is a Woman documentary, and I probably disagree with some of what I said at the time about the documentary. Um, this is not an issue that you want to leave to religious people to fight against, the trans issue, because um, the answer is not in your wishes or in your imaginary friend. And those are the two sides that we hear on this. And I think it is time for somebody else to speak up on this, and maybe you will hear that sometime very soon from us. All
Are you
right.
transitioning?
Right now we'll no, that's not the announcement that's going to be made whenever it's made, but there will be hopefully stuff to announce soon. But for now, let's hear from Anna Kasparian.
If we're going to sit around and wait for our elected lawmakers to protect us from these religious zealots and these right-wing authoritarians, man, we have another thing coming. How many times do we need to be disappointed by them? I'm done with them. And personally, I don't speak for everyone in this network. I want to be clear. I'm speaking for myself. I'm done with them completely. The Democratic Party, every single one of them, that includes the squad, I don't care anymore. They have not delivered. They have not delivered. I'm done. Okay. It's time to organize, create organizations that get women and get people in this country what they need. People who are willing to pick up the slack for these disgusting, feckless, corrupt politicians. That's what we need to focus on.
Yeah, I don't know, Christian, I have to say she's even less attractive when she shouts. But anyway, yeah. Daniel?
Yeah, here I wanted to point out a specific thing, and it is the need for principles, because she is angry about, I think, something valid about the fact that abortion rights in America have, with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, in many states has gotten much worse, and it's a valid thing. But you have to think in principles and why it happened. And something you'll see with the Young Turks is oftentimes they say how filibuster specifically is like a tool to preserve slavery. It was like a tool to preserve or to advocate against the civil rights. And they are advocating for getting rid of it. And this is what happened. The filibuster rule was changed from the pressure from the Democrats, specifically with the judicial appointments. So appointments to the Supreme Court, which later allowed Donald Trump to get 3 Supreme Court picks because he only needed a simple majority in the Senate. He was able to get 3 picks in, and then the 3 of those picks, whatever you think about the specific picks, what happened is that they overturned Roe v. Wade. So again, that was the fact that Democrats have failed at protecting Roe v. Wade was because of progressive push against specifically filibuster, which is, while it is sort of a weird how it works, I think works pretty nicely as like a check against someone getting into power and sort of steamrolling the system, or sort of steamrolling a bunch of institutions or specifically the judicial appointments, because they can get away with it. So yeah, Anna, if you want to rethink, look back about what you advocated for and what led to the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, just quickly, adult human female is the answer to the question, what is a woman? But it's not, it doesn't end the trans debate. And that
also,
debate,
isn't that tautological? Like, it is what it is. It's like saying a woman is a woman.
Well, yes, but no, because the other side of the argument out there is no, a woman is what is a person who identifies as a woman or something to that effect. So yeah, it begs the question or raises the question, why do we have to say that? But we have to because it's uh like how why do we have to explain that when savages attack civilized people, the savages are the bad guys and the civilized people are the good guys, but we have to. Yeah, it's the world we live in. Uh Marco.
Yeah, I think in the case of these very complex questions, I defer the solution to a 3-year-old. Ask a 3-year-old, he will tell you what a woman is. So, and the same for the savages attacking the civilized people. They will be able to tell you those are the baddies, those are the goodies. So, that's a solution for it. But yeah, talking
Completely
about
disagree, but we'll talk about it some other time.
talking
Well,
about
Marco also believes in lying to children, so his sort of view of how we should
Oh, wait,
interact with
okay.
children
The
is.
Santa debate, I think we were doing on the reality show December 24th of next year, right? So let's leave that to them.
Yeah, I'll say talking about the failure of the Democratic Party, it's not just one of policy, but it's one of choosing the CRT bollocks that nobody really believed in and make it their spearhead and making it everything that they believed on. The reason why we have seen a resurgence of um, religious nutters on the other side is because these guys have been out full out with their religious believing in climate stuff and the CRT stuff. So obviously, if you start um, throwing out rationality and logic and just rely on this made up facts that have to be taken by faith, the other side responds in kind. So this kind of turning down of the rational debate has been thrown out of the window by the Democrats, and now they're whinging that the Republicans are using the same kind of anti-reason thinking. Well, if you can call it thinking. So that's first of all comes from their own side, but also this particular clip makes me laugh because when these guys go emotional, they're actually betraying what they're thinking. The fact she says, even the squad has disappointed me. It disappointed me. Wow. If you know anything about what the squad is stands for, it's the super mega anti Jewish state and super Hamas side. The kind of people that give power, create the kind of sectarianism we've seen coming out of the woodwork in politics here in Britain and the United States. I mean, to say that they disappointed you because they didn't go far enough is so telling. It just betrays what you are and what your really motivation is. So you just can't trust these people. I mean, I don't believe that somebody like this can take a 180-degree turn and suddenly see the light and become enlightened. You just don't do that from one day to the next.
And we're talking about principles here. And look at what she just said in that clip. She said she's done with elected lawmakers who don't deliver, but she wants to create organizations to do what the people need, i.e. set up a new party or a new organization of people to tell other people what to do, i.e. the equivalent of elected lawmakers. So it really shows that she's trying to reject statism and ask for more statism. What's the point in that? It goes to show you haven't understood what the problem is. To the extent that you can draw out what she's saying, I'm done with people telling me what to do. Then you can say, all right, you need to be in control of your own life. You need politicians to be getting out of your way, to be concentrating only on the core elements of security at home and from abroad, as we mentioned earlier, and of course the court system. That would be the objectivist ideal in how a government will be run. But of course, we're a long way from there at this point in time. But what she's arguing for is just, I want a different group of people to do things differently in a way that I think is better. but I don't want elected politicians. I mean, incoherent.
Thank you, Jonathan, for another super chat. Jonathan says, many more happy and healthy, Razi. Thanks, Jonathan. You know, my favorite type of birthday wish is the super chat birthday wish, so I appreciate it. El Rito said earlier, this is directed at Marco, agree to disagree, children are stupid as fuck. Now, that's not quite how I would put it. Certainly not on the air, but you know, yeah, children have no knowledge at the age of 3. And but anyway, you know what? This is yeah, the trans issue.
That perception works fine, though.
What?
They can perceive and see it. They don't need to know that much.
Yes, but you are, you know, again, you are asking more than the question, what is a woman? The trans movement is more than that, and you know, adults can choose to do things with their bodies, you know, that make no sense to the rest of us because it's none of our business. So, but anyway, the trans issue, I think, should we could do an episode about it, other than additional stuff that we're going to do about it in the future, hopefully. So yeah, maybe we should cover it soon. It's an important issue. Um, but yeah, any parting thoughts when it comes to Anna Kasparian and her move to the right, Daniel?
Uh, Not really. I mean, we've seen it before. We are seeing it again. I don't, I don't see anything positive in this. I already got burned once with Dave Rubin. I'm not jumping on it again. I wish her luck. Oh, Marco and Richard froze. I was wondering, he was just looking at me so, uh, yeah, I mean, I wish her like. I mean, I think if she is truly, but that's the thing. It's not like she's disillusioned with her ideas. It's not like she's disillusioned with her principles, whatever they are. She just doesn't like the current guy in charge, or she rather she didn't like the girl who was almost in charge. So it's like nothing fundamentally has changed. Nothing. She didn't find any like fundamental issue in her ideas. So that's what, like, nothing's really gonna change. If anything, she's just gonna get much worse because she's gonna go give like some, people love to invite, like, oh, this is why I left the left. People love to invite people from the MAGA side love to invite people like that, and it gives them credibility, which I don't think it's good. I hope MAGA goes away as soon as possible for the sake of America.
And thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. Bonnie says a belated birthday present for Razi. Thank you for that. Susie says get Alex on to cover trans. Yeah, of course. When we do an episode on that, Alex is knowledgeable about it and has spoken about it elsewhere. And absolutely, we will. She will be on that episode. I don't know if Marco and Richard are coming back to say goodbye and sign off, but until and if they do, Daniel, any parting thoughts and anything to promote?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, Damned Dan. It's gonna be in the description. And if Marco and Richard are not gonna join, I'll mention for them. Make sure to check out the Briefly Objective. That's also gonna be in the description. That's all the videos that are made by Marco and Richard, as well as check out the Substack. There are many articles written by many different ARCUK hosts, but among them are also Marco and Richard. So if you want to hear more from the two of them, you can check out those two things.
Yeah, and Christian says she's still a Bernie fan. Yeah, you can be a Bernie fan and a Trump fan, or MAGA or MAGA-ish, because there are similar policies. Like, for example, the anti-immigration ideas. They are similar on those. So yeah, thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, have a great 2025. Thank you. Same to you. Of course, there are still, 4 days left, which means 4 days of shows left, including the Daily Objective every day. and the reality show on Monday and Tuesday, when we will do our year in review. Yeah, that is an end of year tradition, just like the award show. We do the year in review. So that's going to be Tuesday's episode. And before we officially sign off, Marco and Richard are back. Daniel already promoted the Briefly Objective and Substack. So any parting thoughts and anything else you want to promote?
Well, listen to Daniel is my is my parting, not on everything, I hasten to add, but yes, on that score. I'm so surprised you're still on air, to be honest. I haven't got a parting.
Well, thankfully, the Progressive didn't get rid completely of filibuster yet, so Razi was able to keep us going until you guys come back.
Right.
Amazing.
Yes, yeah. Well, I think and we're looking forward to when Trump is actually in office, as opposed to what he might do when he gets in. All the episodes which cover that, is going to be interesting to see what we can actually draw out that is both good and bad, where we can praise, where we can see a good direction, and where we can see the opposite. So that's all to come. I'm looking forward to the new year for that aspect.
Yeah, along those lines, I mean, people can shout and scream as much as they like, but I like to judge them by their actions. So we'll see whether this Cenk guys are really changing the tunes, or they're just pretending. And the same for whatever politicians we gets in our way.
Yeah, yeah, and to Richard's point, I mean, Trump is going to be president, and what he does, so I absolutely hope that everything I've criticized him on, I'll be wrong about. I can't be wrong about everything I criticized him on, because he's done horrible things and deserves to be criticized, no matter how many good things he does. But in terms of his ideas, yeah, let's hope, and his policies, let's hope that good things come. And one good thing that's going to come is Biden is going away, and that is a cause for celebration. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We are back tomorrow with the Daily Objective, and the reality show is back Monday.